All right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our very last Trop Show of the day. My name is Hannah. I work with the Education Department. I want to let everyone know in just about 5 minutes we are going to get started with our Tropical Reef Blue Corner show. If you can hear my voice, we are going to be in this really large tropical gallery here. So feel free to come on down. We do ask if you'd like to watch the show that you are either seated towards the glass or back towards these back railings here so that everybody gets to watch. It is pretty exciting what we're going to see, so we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to watch our show here today. Now, this is our largest exhibit. We have around 350,000 gallons of water in here. And we've got a lot of different animals that you can see swimming around right now, and even an animal that's staying very, very still. So we're going to get to learn about both of those animals today. We're also going to get to learn about ways that we can help protect coral. So we'll get to talk about that as well. You'll notice we do have some divers in the exhibit right now. So we are going to be joined by one of our other divers who's going to talk with us pretty shortly. But you'll notice these other two divers are in the exhibit as well. They are responsible for doing things like cleaning these exhibits, feeding these animals, making sure that they are doing nice and healthy. You can see our divers have some brushes right now. So they are working on cleaning here. Again, we are going to get started in just about 3 minutes now. You might be wondering how we're going to talk with our divers inside the exhibit. Pretty soon we are going to see a yellow cord coming in on the right-hand side, and that allows our divers to be able to speak with us. So we're going to get to talk during the show about a little bit about these animals.
Wait, are we supposed to be out? No, the people they're just observing. They don't see this down here.
Yeah, those are our divers.
Okay.
So pretty soon we are going to be seeing that yellow rope coming into the water that allows our diver to speak with us. Most of our divers are volunteer divers, so we really appreciate everything they do. We have around 180 volunteer divers, and they go through a lot of certification to be able to dive with us, but it's pretty awesome to have fish swimming towards you instead of away from you, so that's always fun. Now you'll notice we have some animals you might recognize in here. We've got our Finding Dory fish that's called a blue pallet tang. We'll get to talk a little bit about that animal, as well as our sharks that we see swimming around. There's one that looks a lot like a hammerhead shark. We'll get to talk about what shark that is during our show as well. All right, so there goes that yellow rope that is on the right-hand side there. So our diver is entering the exhibit, and we're getting ready to start our show here. Again, I do want to remind everyone, we want to make sure we stay seated if we're up towards the glass so that we can make sure everybody gets to see. Oh, there's a little bit of a knot there, but that's okay. We'll get that worked out. And there's actually a little bit of a current in here, believe it or not. So we'll let our diver get nice and situated before we turn on their mic. As you can see underwater, it's a little hard to talk. So what's really neat about divers is that they're able to signal to each other so that they can know what the other person is talking about. There's lots of signals that divers learn to be able to communicate with other divers while they're under the water. It's kind of like an underwater language, basically. And we can wave hello. Our diver can see us. Now, what's really neat about this rope here is that it's actually hooked up to modified firefighters equipment. So that's how we're able to use it to speak with our diver in the exhibit. And then whenever he's ready, I'm going to get that okay sign. I'm going to go ahead and turn on his mic, and we're going to get to speak with him inside our exhibit here. Hi, is this Jeff?
Yes, this is Jeff. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Corner exhibit of the Aquarium of the Pacific. It's nice to see a big crowd out there today. I hope you're all having a great time.
Awesome. Well, how's the water in there, Jeff?
The water in here is nice and warm. It's in the 70s, much colder than our other exhibits like the Blue Cavern.
Definitely. So did you just come from Blue Cavern, or are you going in there after?
I was there a couple times today so far.
Oh, good. So you don't have to go right into that cold.
This is my last one of the day.
That's great. Now, I know this is modeled after an actual dive site in Palau called the Blue Corner Dive Site. And what's really cool about that area is that it is a shark sanctuary. It's the first shark sanctuary of its kind. And right on time, we've got our bonnethead shark coming right across the front here. Can you tell us a little bit about our bonnethead shark, Jeff?
Sure. Our bonnethead shark is actually the smallest of 10 species of hammerhead sharks. We call it a bonnethead shark because it has that curved front to its head there. It's kind of like a bonnet.
That's right. And what's really cool about this shark is that this is a type of shark that always has to be swimming to be able to breathe. And that's called a ram ventilator shark. So you'll notice our bonnethead never stops swimming because it's a ram ventilator. So it means it rams that water over its gills so it can breathe. But that's a little bit different than our zebra shark, isn't it, Jeff?
Yes, the zebra shark and the rays as well have the ability to lay on the bottom and then through the buccal valves on their head, those round holes, take the air and pump it over its gills so it can lay there and rest and sleep, unlike the bonnethead, which must swim all the time or it will die.
That's right. And we have a zebra shark on the bottom left there, kind of swimming towards the back of the coral. And you'll notice if you see our zebra sharks, they've actually kind of got more of a spotted pattern on them. But why is that, Jeff? Why do we call them zebra sharks then?
Well, when they're born, they have these stripes that look a lot like a zebra. But as they get older, their stripes change and they become spots. And we already have a leopard shark in the local waters, so we call these zebra sharks.
That's right. So that's why it has that name that we gave it. Now, all of these sharks are what's known as cartilaginous animals. So that means that their bodies are mostly made up of cartilage. And we have some cartilage too. If you touch your ears and you touch your nose, you can actually feel that cartilage right there. But these animals are mostly made up of that. And there's another animal in here that's cartilaginous, isn't there?
Yes, our rays are cartilaginous. And they're in the same family.
That's right. So we've got some of our smaller rays towards the back here. We've got our cow nose rays. We also have some really large rays, which they might be kind of resting since it's towards the end of the day. But we have our mangrove ray, and we have a southern ray as well. And those are really large rays. So be on the lookout for them because they're always fun to see swimming around our exhibit here. Now, I know we have a lot of animals that have this cartilage. We've got our sharks, we've got our rays, but we have bony fish as well. In fact, right behind you, Jeff, below your flippers there, we can see our golden trevallies at the bottom. Those are those fish with the kind of golden tails and the bars down their body. And oh, perfect, we've got them right here on the right-hand side too. Pretty big school of them there. Now, something really interesting happens to these animals during feeding time. What is that, Jeff? Can you explain?
These golden trevallies, if you can kind of see that very dimly, they have stripes that go up and down their bodies. When they feed, those stripes become very dark as a signal to this feeding time.
That's right. So it kind of lets them know that there is food in the water. So it's really neat to watch that happening. Now you'll also notice on the right-hand side, we've got our Napoleon wrasse. It is that really big blue fish on the right-hand side there. And it's kind of hanging out towards the top of the coral there. Now that is a member of the wrasse family, which means it can do something pretty neat. Can you tell us what the wrasse family members can do?
Yes, all of the wrasse family, all of those fish are born as females. And if it's a single one like this, or if there's a large group, the biggest one changes its sex and becomes a male. And that happens in many different species.
That's right. So it's pretty neat The Napoleon wrasse, as well as other wrasse, are able to do that. You might see our smaller wrasse, our cleaner wrasse. They're kind of a neon blue color, and they like to rest in that coral over on the right-hand side there by that tabletop coral. Now, I have to mention, Jeff, because this fish is drawing a lot of attention right now, as it should. It looks like we've got a spadefish right there. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is a unique fish. We call him Bubbles. This type of fish normally swims in big schools, but this one just loves to hang around the bubbles of the divers and swim in and out of them and breathe the air, I guess. So it's always fun. It's like having a little puppy dog that follows you around when you're inside.
Yeah, that's like a underwater jacuzzi right there for our spadefish, or we call them batfish as well.
Yes.
So this is an example of a behavior that the fish is engaging in, and that's why it's really important that our divers notice what's going on in these exhibits, because if this fish wasn't doing that, we might want to check on it. So that's why another reason why our divers are super important to making sure these exhibits are all well taken care of. Now, right in front of you, Jeff, we've got our unicorn tang here. They've got the horn, and the one on the left actually doesn't have that. Some of them have that, and some of them don't. But what's really neat about unicorn tang, as well as our blue palette tang, which you might recognize from Finding Nemo or Finding Dory, they're what's called surgeon fish. So that means that they have a really special defense mechanism. Can you tell us what they can do, Jeff?
If you look at towards the tail, they have these little spines. And if they get in trouble or if they get eaten, those spines pop out, and they're very sharp, and it protects them from being eaten by the larger fish.
That's right. So it's basically like a little spine or scalpel that they can use. So you definitely wouldn't want to startle a member of the sturgeon fish family. Probably not a very good idea. Now, I know, Jeff, we've got a lot of different animals swimming around here right now, but there's actually an animal that is staying very, very still. Does anyone want to guess what this is towards the back here, all of this? It's actually an animal. Yeah, I heard it. Coral. Yes. So coral is an animal, believe it or not. I know that's kind of surprising. Coral is actually related to jellies and to anemones. They're called cnidarians. That's the phylum they're in. But our coral is a little bit different than most coral, isn't it?
Yes, our coral is actually synthetic. We have it, a company in Arizona made it for us, came in and created this exhibit. And we did that because we want to be as ecologically good as we can be. And if we were to go to Palau and pull all this coral out of the ocean, it would take thousands of years for it to all grow back.
That's right. So it's very important that we have this artificial coral. And like Jeff was saying, it comes from the very tropical area of Arizona. But it's great because our animals can't tell the difference between this artificial coral versus real coral. They still like to rest in it. Our sharks will even lay eggs in it, our zebra sharks, right in between the coral, especially towards the bottom in that coral down there. So the coral is really important that we have here. Now, it's also important we have artificial coral because coral is facing some challenges right now with climate change. So what's happening is carbon dioxide is getting into the atmosphere, and a little bit of that is okay, but there's a lot of us on this planet. So what's happening is that is heating up the atmosphere, which is then heating up the water. And coral is very picky, isn't it, Jeff?
Yes, it's got a very small range in which it can thrive. And I've seen around the world some areas that used to be just beautiful. Now they're just white because the coral itself isn't what gives it the color. Inside of the coral has these little polyps, but inside of that lives an algae. And that algae is what gives it the color. And if that algae dies off, then it will lose all of its color and turn white and die.
That's right. So that algae is something called zooxanthellae. So what happens is the zooxanthellae actually leave the coral when it gets hot. They're like, we don't want to deal with this. It leaves the coral, and then, like Jeff was saying, the coral can pass away. But there's good news. There's actually a lot that we can do to help protect coral. In fact, there's some really simple things that if we do them, even though it just may be one of us, if we all do them together, that can be a really great impact on animals like coral. So I want to ask Jeff, what are some of your favorite ways in protecting coral?
Well, we want to reduce our carbon footprint as much as we can because that causes the water to get warmer. We want to do things like turn off lights, Take a walk to the store instead of driving your car. And also keep as much trash as you can out of the ocean because that really damages these things, especially plastic. The plastic breaks down into little tiny pieces and settles over and gets eaten by many things.
That's right. Now, you mentioned carbon footprint. So some things we can do with reducing our carbon footprint are things like turning off water when we're not using it. Maybe we're brushing our teeth and we're not using that water. We don't let it run. Just turn it off instead. We can also turn off lights when we're not using them, especially if we're not home during the day, right? That's a great way of saving energy and also reducing your energy bill. So that's definitely a plus. And we can also carpool places, or we can bike or walk if they're close by. Those are great ways that are really simple, but can really create that positive impact on coral. Now, it's really important that we monitor how we affect coral because coral really benefits us. In fact, one thing we can do is we're able to research coral reef fish to better help us learn about medicine to make sure that we are helping our population as well. So as much as we are helping ourselves and the coral is helping us help ourselves, we want to help coral back. And we want to make sure that we are creating that positive impact on coral and our oceans. So Jeff, I believe we're about done with our show here today, but I do have one final question for you.
Sure.
Do you have time for pictures, maybe an underwater high five?
Sure, I would love to. If anyone wants to come up and take a snapshot or give me a high five, that'd be fine.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and give Jeff a round of applause. He did great. I'm going to go ahead and turn off his mic. But again, if you'd like to go up to the glass, get an underwater high five, maybe play rock, paper, scissors, although I'll warn you, our divers are really good at that game. Feel free to go up to the glass at this point in time. Again, my name is Hannah. I work with the Education Department. If you all have any questions, I'll be here for a few minutes after the show. And I want to thank you all so much for joining us here today at the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, other fishes. Oh, you can do it. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tropical Pacific Gallery. My name is Avni. I'm standing right over here by the stairs. Just going to talk to you guys a little bit about our gallery. A really cool thing, this gallery actually mimics an actual dive spot called the Blue Corner, and it's located in Palau, which is an island located near Indonesia and the Philippines. Another cool thing about this gallery is that it is actually our largest exhibit here at the aquarium. It holds 350,000 gallons of water and is 28 feet tall. It's usually around 75 to 78 degrees, so it's pretty warm in here. Our divers love diving in this exhibit. Stop, you're making me nervous. You really are making me nervous. No, it's okay, it's okay. It's just, can't make me nervous. I know, I gotta get through this. I gotta do it. You can do it. Another really cool thing about this exhibit is that Palau is actually the first shark sanctuary in the world. And so speaking of sharks, we actually have two sharks in here. We have our bonnet heads and our zebra sharks. Zebra sharks are the ones that are swimming right there with the spots. Now you might be wondering, why are they called zebra sharks if they have spots? Well, when they're born, they're actually born with black and white stripes, which will eventually fade and turn into spots. They're also known as leopard sharks in their native land. But over here off of Southern California, we have our own leopard sharks, which you can view in our other exhibit downstairs, in our Blue Cavern exhibit. And we also have bonnet heads in here, very commonly mistaken for hammerheads by guests, but they're actually bonnet heads. They are the smallest in the hammerhead family, and that's pretty much as big as they are going to get. Now, how many of you guys have heard that sharks have to constantly keep swimming in order to breathe? No one's listening. It's okay. Yeah. Right. So that might be true for some sharks, like our bonnet heads. They use a thing called ram ventilation, which means they're going to have to constantly keep swimming in order to pump that oxygenated water over their gills. However, our zebra sharks don't have to keep swimming in order to do that. You might sometimes find them resting on the bottom of the floor. They have a thing known as spiracles, which are those holes right behind their eyes, and also all stingrays have them too. Just another way for them to breathe without having to move. Now, along with the other similarity between sharks and rays with their spiracles, they are also related in another way. They have no bones in their body. Sharks and rays, their entire skeleton is made out of cartilage, which is the same material that's found in your nose and your ears. And because that cartilage skeleton, they're constantly losing their teeth. It's estimated that sharks can lose up to 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. Now, along with our cartilaginous fish in here, like our sharks and rays, we also have some bony fish in here too. Some of my favorites are the surgeonfish, which are basically like dory over here, which are also known as blue tangs or pallet tangs. They have these scalpel-like spines right behind their tails, which they use for defense, they're known as surgeonfish since their scalpels are pretty much as sharp as a surgeon's scalpel.